One final story, the actor and pilot Harrison Ford has had another near miss. He came to fame as Han Solo in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars. In real life, Ford collects vintage planes, but has suffered several incidents over the years. The latest, an incident reported as he skirted a waiting passenger jet on landing his single-engined Aviat Husky in California. The American Airlines flight departed safely a few minutes later. In a completely fictional reimagining, we asked Doug McLean, who's had 40 years of experience at air traffic control, to view those early Star Wars films. But first, how rare are these incidents?
Unfortunately, yes, they do happen. I think probably once or twice a year we see something very public because the airplanes are usually commercial, or in the case we've heard about this week, somebody famous is flying one. Airplanes have actually mistaken the wrong airport and landed at the wrong airport.
The wrong airport? Yes,
indeed. Whether they're looking ahead and they're looking in a direction and, say, due west, and they're expecting to see a runway, and lo and behold, there's the runway, and they go ahead and land. Unfortunately, they've not checked exactly where it was, and it may have been a mile or two short, and they've actually landed at a small regional airport with a very large aeroplane. So it does happen. In this case, it's probably a circumstance where the pilot actually looked up and saw something that he thought he was recognising, but not actually what was really happening.
As you're coming into land, you can be thinking about many different things at once. So because what do you think appears to have happened from reports about the Harrison Ford affair?
There's a possibility, and obviously the investigation and the interview with Mr. Ford will probably reveal it all, but he was looking for a parallel runway. There were two runways at the airport, 20 right and 20 left. And I think he was coming in a relatively short distance, turning not too far away from the airport onto final approach, looked up and saw what he thought were two runways, one on the right, so he discounted that one, looked at the one on the left and said, there we go, there's a nice big runway, I'm going to land on that. But what actually he was looking at was a third piece of tarmac, a parallel taxiway strip.
He's thinking, there I go, I'm hopping down there. Meanwhile, there's a 737 passenger jet parked on the taxiway.
That's possibly the most remarkable thing, but bearing in mind that he's focused on a long runway, probably something of 2,000 metres long. He's flying a very small aeroplane, a light aircraft, which is very good performance and can land and stop in a fairly short distance. So he may well have been focused on a point further up the runway, but it was quite remarkable that he didn't actually see the 737, which was effectively parked across the threshold over the runway he was about to land on.
Well, happily, no one in this instance was hurt. That gives us license, perhaps, for a little bit of fantasy air traffic control, something that's never knowingly been done on the radio before, Doug. You're very brave. We've got some famous sequences for you from Star Wars. If you'd like to fire them up and give us your commentary.
Computer's locked. Getting a signal.
Very narrow area he's flying through. Oops, traffic coming up behind him.
Watch for enemy fighters.
They're coming in.
He's getting a busy piece of airspace now. He's getting counter instructions here.
Use the force.
No, stay with air traffic control. Don't go your own way.
So you're saying don't take the force?
No, I would say stay with air traffic control. It's always safer.
Han Solo, played by Harrison Ford, which the role that brought him to fame, is bringing the Millennium Falcon into bear for the final scenes.
Yahoo!
Some unauthorised words there. I think somebody's shouting. Harrison.
You're all clear, kid.
No, it's always dangerous for somebody to say you're all clear on the radio. I wouldn't be saying that, but oh well, he's on his way now.
Kid, that was 1 in a million.
It looks to me like they've just performed a 360 roll. Would that disorientate Han Solo?
Well, I think we'd be saying to Mr. Ford here, could you call air traffic control and landing just to explain your flying, because we don't really understand it.
On the ground with Doug McLean.